key word there is now. It was tough making all these ready to.
This is really cool.
A lot of
All
work.
right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and establish a quorum, call this meeting to order. This is our, third meeting to date. It is April 14th. It is 5:33 p.m. and we're going to go ahead and get this party started. Appreciate everybody coming out to a new location tonight. We're going to go ahead and show the agenda, hopefully, on the screen here. If you didn't have a chance to get an agenda, they are printed on the table here at the front. We're going to be, to preface this meeting, I'll allow everybody to do introductions. You may or may not have seen us yet, but we are just going to allow everybody to introduce themselves. My name is Hannah Cups. I am a realtor with C4 Home and Land Team, and I am the chairman of our Fannin County Lake Economic Development Committee.
I'm Jason Kahn, a local fishing guide on Bois Lake. Excuse me.
William Myers, the Executive Director at Quorum Economic Development.
I'm Drew Ferris, the citizen of Fannin County.
I'm Doug Hall, Fannin County Commissioner, Precinct 4.
I'm Curtis Smith, have different real estate investments.
Di Hopkins, Fannin County Development Services.
Jeff Saba, we own Bois.
And we have two committee members that are out tonight, but we have Stephanie Liebel, she's the owner of Blessings and Butterfly Style House in downtown Bonham. And then we have Dan Cooper, which is the developer of Cypress Point and owner of Cooper Land Company, that is not here tonight. Gary Mills will be joining us here shortly. He's another local realtor with Bonham Land and Ranches. So when he comes in, he'll just be sitting down, but that's the other committee member here tonight. But if we are all set, we are going to go ahead and start with public forum so we can stay on track here. I see Mr. Newt Cunningham. Judge, you're up.
I'm probably hearing a message from a number of different people, and it has to do with the possibility of a park on Bois Lake. We've talked about it in Commissioner's Court. We've talked about it in the zoning committee for Lake Bois. I think the desire is to have a park, and that there's been discussion with North Texas about donating land for a park. What does that look like? They talked about 10 to 20 acres. This conversation's been going on probably 4 or 5 years. It's there. How long is it going to be there? We're dealing with a group that has its members changing, and if we miss the bus and it's gone, that opportunity may not get to come around again. What would it cost? We sit there, we've had people who want money for Fannin, Lake Fannin. We've got people who wanted money for a boat launching location into the river, to put boats in and out of the river on 78. I think that for me, the possibility of having a boat park up by the boat landing on the north side of the lake over near Carson makes a lot of sense, particularly if it's 10 to 20 acres. You can do some things with it, maybe have a camping area, a few other things. There are people who are going to be opposed to camping areas, but for me there's a big difference between a camping area and a permanent parking lot for small vans and trailer homes. So that's what I have to say, and I want the group to be aware of the opportunity. Mr. Titsworth may be wanting to get on your agenda one of these times to speak about it, but I think it's an opportunity that we don't need to miss out on. Back to you.
Thank you, Judge. All right, anybody else want to speak in public forum? Going once, going twice. All right, next up we have the approval of minutes from March 10th, 2026 regular meeting. I made note we had one minor correction to the meeting minutes to add William Myers. He was present, I just didn't include him, so made that update there. Do any of the members have any additional changes? Or do we have a motion to approve the minutes from March?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March.
We got a motion
The
by
addition
Di
of Mr. Myers in there.
I'll second.
and a second by Mr. Ferris. Perfect. We will put it to a vote. Do we all approve?
Yes.
questions about the future land use map, so we wanted to bring in Ms. Tylene Gamble here to give us some more information from a taxing perspective, what this actually looks like. I will reiterate here that this committee, we roll up to 3 different organizations. We are here to make recommendations. We're not a spending authority, we're not a voting authority. We simply do a lot of the homework for our fellow commissioners, on the zoning commissions, on the commissioners court, to give them some insight from the public. We get the information here, we do a lot of the brainstorm work, bring that information to them, and they make the decisions on if they vote on it and approve it, or if we need to work on something else. So just wanted to make that clear here before we have Ms. Tylene Gamble come up to speak. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all for having me. I think y'all had some general questions on the valuation process and at what level things may happen in the processes that y'all are working on. So it's had some general information, and then we can have some questions on it. But the appraisal district does not have a tax rate. We don't do the tax rate. We are not responsible for revenue. We're the appraisal firm. So that's what the valuation is, what we're going to do. So when you create a zone, you're decided if this is a residential zone or commercial zone, that designation alone does not change your valuations. Because those are planning tools, those are future tools, but when we get involved and whenever our things happen with us is when the properties actually sell. We can't just go out there and assign a number, we have to base it on something. So you create a commercial zone, for example, that nothing delineates that land worth more or less than residential property yet. But what it will do, it opens up the potential for growth and investment, speculative purchases, investment purchases, those kinds of things. When those type of people are looking to put a commercial endeavor, they're needing to know where they can do that. Once that property sells, I get a sale for 5 acres, I'm looking at this sale on the lake at 5 acres at whatever that sells for, and it's high, I'm looking at, well, why? The first thing I can say, oh, well, that's because it was a commercial zone. That helps me value the commercially zoned property without affecting residential zone property that probably won't sell for the same as that one did. So zoning alone is not going to change your valuation. It changes as the market starts moving, because we don't just create a value, we follow the values. So as property sells, it's kind of like if you have a neighborhood and they're all selling for, say, the 340, 360, and all of a sudden now there's a 410 that's sold. Well, that's only one sale, but I'm going to tell you that $410,000 sale is going to be in every other fee appraisal and every other bank that happens, and generally they all start moving up. So once something starts selling, and then it's being used in other appraisals for financing, it tends to pull your market along. But it still takes an environment for which you have willing purchasers looking. And if you're wanting to grow your area, having already pre-planned where you think is best for commercial properties is going to help that down the road. But I'm not going to just say, oh, this is suddenly commercial, we're going to double the value, because I've got nothing to base that on. So the valuation process is not based on just the zoning process at all. It waits until the next step, which is the buying starts happening. That is where we start doing sales analysis, and our values follow what the market is already doing. We don't set it, we follow it. That's in houses and everything. It's similar to a subdivision. It's a 200-acre ranch selling at $9,000 or $10,000 an acre today, and tomorrow there's imaginary lines out there because it is suddenly a subdivision. Well, our value's coming in because now this subdivision has 75 lots for sale asking $80,000 an acre, not $9,000 an acre. So it changed because this 200-acre ranch as a single property has now 75 properties with listing prices out here. That tells me what the developer believes this market is going to generate. We work with the developer on valuing those lots until you get 2 or 3 of those that sell. Now we can value this subdivision on individual lots, not a 200-acre ranch. So just, platting it until we know what the market's gonna push, looking at a subdivision next to it, or what the developer is looking to gain from those, would change those values. So zoning alone doesn't do it. And the other thing, I think there were some questions on at what point is there a rollback? Because I know this lake is out in the middle of nowhere, and there's a lot of ranch land and farmland all around there. So zoning itself is not going to change or trigger the rollback. What a rollback is if a property has qualified for the special ag appraisal. Ag is a reduced valuation based on the product, the calf product, or the crop product. The thing in the tax code is if that property ceases to produce, changes its use, then you go back and you collect the previous 3 years' tax savings from what the market was in that year versus your ag. So it can be substantial. So, but a rollback is triggered when the property ceases to qualify or can no longer qualify for ag being the primary purpose. So like a subdivision, you put a subdivision in and you've put these 75 lots in there, those primary purposes now become 75 individual single-family residences as primary purpose. Therefore, that 200 acres is going to have a rollback, and that developer, if they've been developing, they're expecting it, they know that, they usually come in and ask, I need my rollback tax bill, because they build it in on the front end so that they can sell their lots and go on down the road. On this zoning commercial issue, the zoning will not trigger a rollback because there's probably no fence and there's probably still cows and there's probably still corn or whatever you're planting out there is still there. But once it's platted and those lots become known and are ready to start marketing, that would trigger the portion that is now no longer qualifying for ag to have that rollback. And like I say, most of the ones that go along and do a lot of developments know that and walk in. It's sometimes an individual that decides to put in a little subdivision or something may not realize and not expect that rollback bill is coming. So any time that somebody's looking to do that, you can come in, what are your plans, how much you're talking about, how much land, we can get an estimate of rollbacks and things like that. So, but the zoning and the pre-planning doesn't cause that. The actual action of buying, selling, and changing your views is where it comes to us. And so anybody here that's going to get ready to do that is certainly welcome to come in and say, okay, I'm planning to do this in this length of time. What would that do to me? What would happen? So did you all remember anything to do? Anybody else have questions on what this will do, how it affects, or timing?
Ms. Campbell, let me ask you a question, and I think I understand the answer. I want people to know if somebody decides that they're going to turn their 200 acres into a platted area, or they're going to get it zoned commercial, and you're next to them and your property remains AR, ag, you're not included in that area if they plat it. And I want everybody to understand that. I think there's a lot of fear that if we come in and we say this area is now residential, that's going to cause our property values to go up. It's when we go beyond that and start taking steps, and if we remain outside that area, our neighbor can have commercial, we don't have commercial, that generally doesn't affect our value.
Right, that's the difference of zoning. If in a commercial zone, somebody comes in and plats that for a commercial environment, and you have residential, no, the same price per square foot or price per acre that this commercial so far, because you're zoned differently, it is not legally permissible to put highest and best uses. You're supposed to value property at its most profitable and highest and best use. Well, one of the tests of highest and best use is legally permissible. So if this property sold for a convenience store and you are zoned as a house, as residential, you can never have a convenience store. You can't convert to a convenience store. Your highest and best use is still residential. So if a tract of platted commercial sales, that's not going to change the residential tracts. But in the growth, you build commercial, now residential's gonna grow, and the sales of those residential tracts may affect you in some point, but the fact that that commercial lot sold is not gonna affect that house sale.
What about areas outside of zoned areas? Some that rural county has no zoning, so.
Well, we generally are looking at, if it's just out in the rural land, we have rural land sales. Now, size matters when it comes to a sale. You'd be surprised. We were actually, because of the growth of the subdivisions, there's a phenomenon going on where usually like 200 acres would sell for one price, and the smaller the tract, the higher per acre it sells for. We have seen these big 200-acre tracts are selling at a higher price per acre than a 15-acre tract is, because the developer is speculating. He's willing to pay more for this 200 acres because he's going to make 100 lots. But that's a 200-acre tract. I'm not going to value a 10-acre tract on a 500-acre or 200-acre sale, and in reverse. So talking about the rule, if there's a subdivision out there and that is selling for a certain amount, and those lots are say 4 acres, it could, if I've got down that same road several 4-acre tracts that are similar, then yeah, it could affect that lot value. But if those are individuals, those are typically homesteaded and capped as well. But it could, because they're both residential, they're both on the same road. But usually the subdivisions are kind of standalone until you get 2 or 3 together, which we found on Bodark on the waterfront. There were 4 or 5 that all were done a little bit different, but you could see how what those sales did bled over into these and bled over into these. So they did kind of affect each other, but they were all similar in size and similar waterfront, and so those were kind of looked at as a whole. So, but the zoning part by itself is not gonna, if y'all set a zone today, your notice next month is not gonna be higher for that zone. Anything else? It's probably mud. Yes, sir.
Does the planning process itself trigger higher valuation? Say I plat something, no improvements are done, pull away from it. It's just sitting there, it's platted. Does that cause appraisal district to increase the value?
Once we get the final plat, then generally the rollback's gonna go out. That's gonna be the trigger to send the rollback.
But let's say we're still running cattle on it, it's platted with the county, but the use is not changed. Does the plat change the use?
Well,
Is it still running cattle or doing agriculture?
okay, 2 things. First, because we do them all the same, we're first going to send the rollback, but there's a window. And let's say that's the case. Come in and sit down and talk to me, because do you have a contract on them? Do you have a developer you're working with? Are they listed for sale yet? If you're going through the process, because it's expensive to generate, then generally I've seen that they're going up for sale within 6 to 8 months of that plat, because you gotta recoup the cost of platting it. So yes, that's why we do it with the plat, because if we go out there and there's no fences and there's cows, let's say you got a crop on there, but I want to go as one of the buyers and I want that lot over there. Your primary purpose, are you gonna say, no, I'm not selling today because I haven't harvested yet? Or yes, I'm gonna sell that lot today because I need to sell these lots. Which is your primary purpose?
Let's say that there's no road to it, no improvements have been done, can't legally sell it, an individual, say want lot 12 out of, 20 lots is over here, haven't got around, maybe the market changed, took it down, and pulled back from doing any type of improvements or anything, is that still going to trigger, increase in value?
We would talk, and let's just say all of that is exactly, we just walk in there and say, here, I've canceled my leases, I'm not leasing it because there is no market and I'm not gonna do that. I've sold this one, but here's where my crops are, here's all my things. You and I would probably work and say, okay, you get this guy, lease for $1, lease his, because you're still running cows on his thing, then I would probably give you ag again, and we would talk about it next year. The first time one sold, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's a rollback on all of it. But those things happen, especially when the economy different, you know, has something significant change. So it's not an all or none, but we would, as soon as the plat gets approved, we do create your lots, send a rollback and say, there's a 30-day window here, come talk to me. So, and if there's some, you know, I've had it happen where the developer, died, suddenly. And so everything was on hold and we got it reinstigated and re-put in there. And we just talked to them every year until they got ready to move forward, and then we did it then.
Yeah.
So it's a workable thing. And I also recommend, it's like the one this great big one, I think what's 800 acre or 640 acre one, work in phases. If you're gonna do a huge plat, it's probably cost efficient to go ahead and get the surveys and plats done. But you may only open up phase one. Well, come see me. Let's just roll back phase one. And you can keep moving and plowing and doing on the rest of it until you have sold out phase one. Then you come in and say, okay, I'm about to open up phase two, let's roll back. And then I would come along and we'll pull out phase two for you, roll that part back, and you can just keep farming. So, I've done that before too, and they went ahead while they had all of the thing, get it all surveyed, get your plan in place and get it approved. But if you're only opening up them in sections, we can work with you and just roll back the sections as you go, and that way you can just keep rolling, this profit into that rollback, and this profit into that rollback, and just keep moving. Yeah. And it just takes good communication and keeping us in the loop in the pre-planning stages, and as you go, we do that too.
Okay, thank you.
It sounds kind of an informal process based on like a phase approach. Is there a formality to it? Is there a form, paper trail, record of like if
For a rollback?
No, for the phase approach. Like you say, if you had developers developing phases, he says you say come see me.
Well, no, every single rollback that we send out, which that would do the same, regardless of how, we were gonna send the rollback for the whole thing.
But do you require like some paper trail?
Well,
between
yes,
your-
they would, yeah,
Yeah, so he
yeah.
would have to fill out, so if there's a change, then he would need to fill out something, some type of record stating that, hey, phase one, I'm starting, phase two, I'm not starting.
Yeah, we would
And then-
work with that plat, and I have them coded, and
Okay.
it's staying in a communication process, yes, that's, and then we actually put a recheck on that every year to go see if we're gonna be doing anything more, if we need to talk through the emails, we save all of that. There's not a specific form, we can do a letter that says, this is where I understand that you're telling me, this is what I'm willing to do on that, and we at least have something in writing as an understanding. I can't speak to what some chief's gonna do when I'm gone, but I think the spirit of the law is you change the use and you roll it back as you go. And if you've got farming out there that those lots aren't for sale, you've not changed it yet because they're not out there for sale. So I think the phase thing works good for both. It gives, we're following the spirit of the law, and yet the developer is being able to, move along and keep the inventory available as needed. So I think we both become that way.
If you have commercial property, like if we vote on something tonight that we change something and make it commercial, but, say it's 10 acres, but there's a family member that wants to build a house on it, that doesn't stop them from keeping it residential, does it?
If we were voting on something tonight, it would be on the future land use. It wouldn't actually change the zoning of that land. It would just be what would be proposed in the future that might happen. The zoning itself will change until that person comes in and actually files for the zoning to be changed. So So if it's agricultural now, and we vote tonight for the future land use to be commercial, it will still be agricultural until the person who owns it files for the change of zoning.
So they don't want us.
Let me drop in here for a second. My understanding is this is a vision map. This is what we want it to be. If you're there and you don't wanna go ag yet, or you don't wanna go residential yet, or you don't wanna go commercial yet, you don't come in and ask for a change in the zoning. That comes later and it goes to the zoning commission, which I'm chairman of, and at that point in time, a decision is made whether to recommend it to commissioners court. Just like you guys are gonna be recommending a change to commissioners court to the vision plan. We're saying this was what we would like you to do with your property. We're not saying to them, this is what you have to do with your property.
Okay, if I understand it right, because zoning is outside me, is that if it's currently residential, it stays residential regardless of what this board does. If they open the door for commercial, that residential person has to go in and say, okay, I want to be commercial today. There's another caveat on residential property in a commercial area. And this has only been in place maybe 8 years. Let's say, okay, let's just say down 56 right here. Down 56, you've got houses in there, and then every once in a while you've got a convenience store or something. If that had gone in and was had been zoned commercial, and I had lot sales at commercial, do you know that you can only do it to where the homes that are zoned in that commercial if it's not a homestead? If it's a homestead, the person that owns it and lives in it and claims it as a homestead can only be valued as residential, period, regardless of zoning, as long as it's their homestead. So that's fairly new. That was protecting over 65 valuations about 8 years ago when the market started moving, was that if it's somebody's homestead, highest and best use by law can only be residential. They took the highest and best use test off if it's a homestead. Very good questions. I'm sure we can think of something else.
Right before everybody goes to sleep.
Well, I'm telling you, anybody walk in the door and ask for me, my name is Tylene. Anybody can walk in the front door, ask for me. My deputy chief is Christy. She was chief appraiser as well, and we see things the same, do things the same, follow the same law. We're open door down there, so anybody can come in and ask to talk to either one of us. Our emails are also out there on our website as the chief and whatever. So if you think of something at 2 o'clock this morning, then you can email me. Anything else? And just a side note, since we did a computer conversion, our appraisal notices are running late. Normally you would be getting them the end of this week. We're just hoping to get them before May 1, but you will still have the same 30 days to protest, though nobody will need to. We're just always right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to Ms. Tylene. Are you gonna need anything else, do you think? I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Well,
Appreciate your time.
I'm open anytime something comes up. If anybody or any committee or any program you need somebody, let me know.
Awesome. We'll do a shuffle of the room. I think we got some coming in, some coming out, so we'll let everybody move around. But Ashley mentioned, great thing. There's a lot of new things happening in Fannin County right now in terms of investment, in terms of development, new neighborhoods, these lakes. There's a lot of new things happening. So questions tend to arise. Start asking the right people. Tylene Gamble, she's available. You got Di Hopkins with Development Services. You can reach out to any of these committee members. You can get in touch with me. At the end of this meeting, we'll have a form as well where you can submit questions if you don't feel comfortable asking here. We will find the answers one way or another of how we're going to move forward. The key here is planning. Right now, we want to make sure that we plan for what's to come because there's a lot of changes happening, as you're all aware of. But I wanted to open this back up. We've got discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the future land use map for Bodark Lake. So again, I'll preface this. We are not telling landowners this is what's going to happen to their land. The decision still lies with the landowners, regardless of what we do, regardless of what the zoning commissions do, regardless of what commissioner's court does. It's when the landowner chooses to go in front of these commissions and say, this is how I have this pre-zoned for in the future. I want to move forward with changing my zoning. When that happens, they go through a process. You may be approved, you may be denied. Until that change is on record, then nothing changes when it comes to zoning. So just want to reiterate that it is up to the landowner on
I
this.
guess one clarification on that too is that if you don't change the map, it doesn't mean you can never go to commercial, but it just makes it that much harder. If it's already in there, it just takes a step away and makes it a little easier for a landowner to choose to go commercial when they want to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great point. You know, right now there's a lot of things happening around these lakes. Identifying the areas where we expect commercial to happen is how we control and manage the type of growth in specific areas so we don't see a bait and tackle store here next door to your house, and then there's a hotel next door to that, to where we're jumbled up and having a whole bunch of different things all mixed together. We want to have specific areas that are designated to specific types of building structures so that our neighborhoods aren't being overrun. We've got commercial in the front, neighborhoods in the back. They're following our major roadways for emergency access. You know, emergency services is a very big deal when we're talking about a lot of these businesses. We want to make sure that our fire can get there and put out fires. We're not sneaking down, you know, to the front of the shoreline and it takes 30+ minutes to get to our businesses. We want to make sure we're planning for that. So that's why we're talking this a little bit more in depth today.
And then one other clarification, if I'm correct on this, my understanding is that this is strictly focusing on the perimeter lake regions and what can go there. This is not about the rest of the county, and it's not intended to set a precedent for anything in the rest of the county. So it's not like, you know, all the other regions are going to be affected by decisions made about this lake perimeter.
That is correct.
The
Yes,
county
thank you.
can only zone inside the buffer zones. That is
Yes.
it.
And if you weren't at the last meeting, I'll get you up to speed. Here's a look at the Bodark Lake future land use map. What we're talking about exists around Bodark Lake and Lake Ralph Hall. We've got a 5,000-foot buffer, something very unique to the county. There's only 5 like it in the state of Texas. 2 of them live right here in Fannin County. This is what gives the county authority within this buffer to have zoning authority. That doesn't exist anywhere else. Typically in rural areas, the county has no say-so in zoning. So this gives us an opportunity to manage what's coming in so we don't get overly dense in certain areas, so that we can spread out our businesses to make sure it makes sense, so we're not stacked on top of each other. So it really was brought down by the state of Texas to help us control density and improve safety for, you know, public use. We got emergency services involved and all of those good things. So I wanted to present this here to get everybody up to speed on this is what the current future land use map looks like.
I added, on that one, there's some added on 82. That was what I was proposing before.
Yeah, this is
Apologies.
the proposed ad.
This is the proposed addition. I believe this particular area, I'm gonna handy dandy thing, whether or not you can see it, I doubt it. We're right here in this buffer, which is this line, this dark line around the perimeter that's kind of jagged here. This area is US 82 that's running from east to west that you can see here. There's only 2 areas along 82 currently that fall within the buffer that we're speaking on today. You have the area closest to Bonham. This is that proposed neighborhood that they've talked about recently if you've been following up with Bonham. A little bit further down, there's certain areas here that have the ability to change for future land use to commercial. I believe right now there's a mixture, you know, who the owners are, we have record of that. But a lot of this, you know, you've got a mixture of floodlands here, you've got a mixture of single-family residents here, you've got a couple properties that are just ag right through there. But the main reason we're considering this area along US 82 is because of the access. This US 82 is a primary roadway. It's an artery leading from Paris to Sherman. It's our artery off of 121 coming out of Bonham in the Metroplex. This is where we expect a lot of the business-oriented development to take place so that it's not impeding on a lot of our ag within these areas. So we keep it away from our ag and farming communities. We want to make sure it's managed and grouped into the same area. So this is the proposed location right now along US 82. The second one is here by the bridge, actually just past the bridge. Close to FM 1743 is the other location. There's several little nodes right here within the buffer. There's a little bit of a mix. I know the mayor of Dodge City and I have spoken about this area and ETJs and responsibilities. At the end of the day, whether it's in the ETJ, whether it's in county's buffer, whoever has the strictest authority is going to trump. So in an ETJ, municipalities do not have zoning authority. They have subdivision regulation authority, but they cannot enforce zoning in those areas. So this buffer gives the county the opportunity to put that zoning in place that the cities can't. So it's important for us to work with the cities and the municipalities to make sure that we're on the same page between county and city to understand what we want the future of the commercial access of Dodge City to look like. What do we want this commercial access for Bodark Lake to look like, and for the county? So we want to work together as partners in this conversation. But again, it doesn't impact anything to do with landowners today. This is just for if they choose to change it in the future. So you've got these two areas along US 82 that are being proposed. Yes,
I had a couple
Go ahead.
points, I'm sorry. If you don't know, the default inside the yellow is a large lot 5 acres. So anybody can put large lot 5 acre if they want, but you could not put commercial.
The green is 5 acres, the yellow is 1
I'm
acre
sorry,
lot.
it looked yellow to me from this side, the green, yes. But also in addition to 82 linking Paris and Bonham, if you go further afield, 82 goes all the way east to the Georgia coast and all the way west to Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is going to be in the future a major trucking route. There's already been $200 million of upgrades by Sherman on what's going on in 82, and that's only going to keep spreading. So 82 is almost most certainly going to become a major cross-country trucking route, and commercial abilities there are going to be important.
I'm on the state planning committee, and the people don't want to drive through the Metroplex. And this gives them a route outside the Metroplex, and it's going to, they're pushing it through the Texarkana. When that first came up here, it didn't go to Honey Grove. It's 4-lane to Honey Grove. It's going to go 4-lane all the way across, runs through Lubbock. A lot of truck traffic's going to be on it. You're going to see a lot of truck stops, motels, all sorts of other things to develop, and Bonham is one of the hot spots.
Great point, Judge. Well, Don, you have any other input on, what we want the public to see here? Any input from the committee on these two specific zones for commercial along 82 here?
I think one point to understand is everything that's in gray is unzoned, unincorporated land. They do not have to do a change of zoning to be commercial or really any permitting or building permits. So they can go commercial if they want to.
Good call out, Doc. Any questions from the public? Any committee members got any questions?
I guess if we decided that we would like to propose that this be changed on the future land use, what would have to happen is we'd have to have a public hearing to discuss it. I'm guessing it wouldn't have to be with this group, it could be this group included, but the public hearing would have to be with Commissioners Court. And also, letters would need to be sent out for all of those parcels and anything 200 feet around those parcels. So the public would be notified. And if anybody that owned or was around those parcels wished to protest, then they could do so.
Awesome. Well,
So what's the time frame on all that?
The public hearing has to go into the newspaper 15 days before the meeting.
What about the protest?
The protest is supposed to reach 10 days before. So generally, I make sure that the mailings go out no later than the day that it goes in the paper. I try to get it out sooner. Sometimes I'm able to, sometimes I'm not.
so the proposal today is just what Di said. Di's done a lot of homework on this. She's been working on this behind the scenes for a while, and we want to at least put it in front of the right people, allow the public to submit their letters of protest if they don't agree with it. At least put it on record, that we're attempting to plan moving forward. So if anybody has a motion, I think the next step would be to have a public hearing. We'd like to push this forward, have a conversation with the Bodark Lake Zoning Commission first. Di and I will tackle that when the time comes to get them up to speed on everything. But I think next step would be a motion to have a public meeting for the future land use zoning classification of these two particular areas along US 82 in the buffer zone of Bodark Lake.
Yeah.
So it's all those in the pink, right?
I know it's
Yeah.
a little tricky to see on this screen. but-
So the
So
triangle.
one, two,
The
three,
triangle
four,
piece is
five
actually,
pieces,
that one, the
six
triangle piece is currently zoned commercial. On 82, that is the only one on the
That
future
little
land
bitty
use,
one?
is the triangle piece
Isn't that the one we just approved not too long ago? Didn't we just approve that?
to change the zoning, no, we haven't.
did.
Something was brought up recently, but I don't know where that landed, but I do remember a conversation about commercial in that area. But this
For
helps.
the dog place.
That was
That
at
was
one
a,
time.
yeah, it was a PD.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
if you
that's
can,
right,
I don't know if
that's
you can
right.
see
It
that
was PD, yeah.
there, but that is the only part that's zoned, that triangle piece that 82 runs through it.
Tiny skinny triangle?
No,
Oh, right there by eight
no,
ninety-seven?
go back, Ken.
By
Oh, this is-
897.
That
Oh, okay.
piece
Yeah.
right now is
So-
on the future land use. It's not
Yeah, so
currently
that's
zoned.
land use, that's land use.
It's not zoned, commercial.
isn't?
It
But
is
it's
for
approved
the
for.
future, yeah,
Yeah.
the future land use.
Okay. So the other two over there, I'm familiar with them, I bailed hay in one of them.
Can I interject something?
Yes.
Dodge City actually has some zone out there, 897, it's 82, south side, both sides of 897 is zone, what we call business, commercial, same thing.
Yes.
It would pretty much tie in with the
Yeah,
proposition.
Same, pretty much same, thing. Business is what we classify.
So the city is on the same page here when it comes to the zoning classification for the future land use for Dodge City.
Question,
Yes.
it appears though that this is going over the lake, that's dry, that's floodplain, right? That's high, with like 100-year floodplain, so if you drove there, you're not gonna be going over the lake right there
Correct.
today.
Correct.
In any of those things that look like they're going over. the lake.
Correct.
That's
Those
all
are
dry
actually
land.
like
Right.
bridges that
Right,
are there.
there are bridges, but it's dry land that is floodplain, so it's not like you're impeding, like putting stuff right up against the lake shore,
Correct.
Well,
And
the one is Bullard Creek,
right?
and that's, if it floods, it will come under that bridge. It's-
I've seen it go over the bridge.
Yeah.
You have? That bridge?
On 82,
That new bridge?
over
Not,
the bridge.
not since it's new, I don't think, but I know it did back in the 90s for sure.
But yes, there's areas within this
No,
particular
it's-
zones that we're talking about today that are flood zone completely. Some of it will never be anything. A lot of it is North Texas land, which will just stay as a flood zone. What they end up doing with it is up to their disclosure. But just to preface that not 100% of this land will turn into anything because some of it is flood zone because of the lake's flood elevation. But it does give you a good idea of these areas and what they could be in the future for this lake. Any other questions? All right, well, I think next steps here, if we don't have any,
I do have one, just
Yes.
kind of a house cleaning thing.
Let's do it.
Sounds like a lot of parcels,
yes,
so I'm just, is there, this is probably not our realm, but is there a concern about having, a protest period of 10 days, but having that many parcels going at once?
I believe there is a total of less than 50 total parcels that we're talking about in these zones.
Yeah, but then it takes into consideration
I can do it
200
per
feet
parcel.
around, but you're okay.
I mean, we can discuss
Y'all,
it.
y'all staffed enough
I'll-
to handle it? That's what I'm asking like this.
Basically, what I'll do when I do this, because when I have to send the letters out, I'll pull out all the parcels that will be affected, and then I'll have a chart with that, and then I'll have I do spreadsheets, and I'll have a spreadsheet of all
So
the
we don't need to
properties
phase
I-
it, is what my question is.
Well,
You don't
that
think
was-
there's a,
This was kind of like phase one of being 82, but if you would like to phase it,
Well,
we
that's up
can
to y'all.
definitely do it that
it's
way.
probably, I'm probably asking too many questions.
Not at all.
It's like,
And we're putting that to work.
yeah, that's a lot of
what
work,
this
it could be a lot of work, so
Yes.
just trying to.
But it is broken up. We have FM 897, the bridge area as well. It's a separate conversation from this. Still the same concept, but for now we're just focused solely on US 82. That's our primary commercial corridor at this point. So we want to make sure that we see how this process goes, how the public responds to it before we move forward with next steps into those little bit more dense areas along 897 with this conversation.
But if you'd like to propose doing it in phases, I'm
That's up to you.
absolutely no problem with that at all.
I've said my piece.
Well, and I think if you explain it to the landowners, you know, because nothing's really changing for them.
Correct.
And if they realize that, then they're not gonna be so against it.
In theory.
And it's all about communication with them, you know.
Exactly.
And, you know, they don't really know what's going on. They think all of a sudden now I got commercial, you know, just like we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
So you need to make sure and communicate with them that we're not changing your land and where your taxes are gonna go up. It's just the potential that if you do wanna sell it to a developer or something, this is already in place. It's one step that they're gonna have to go.
Correct.
Does regarding the buffer on this and the overlap with communities, does the buffer need to change, or you just leave the community in the buffer zone and?
In which case? So for example, Bonham Lake properties,
Right.
when I found out that those were under the jurisdiction of the city of Bonham, then we went forward through the zoning board and through commissioner's court and pulled them out of the buffer zone.
So with that, have they been pulled out of this one? This buffer zone?
Probably not.
So I was
It's
just
on
wondering
the-
if that was
yeah.
a cleanup, what we could do.
There is definitely a cleanup that needs to be done on the future land use map. But, and I still need to get with Ross because I got with Mark Kennard and I thought I knew all of them and I had charts of all of them. And then I found out lately that that isn't correct either.
Yeah, my general understanding is we don't have to zone everything in the radius. We've actually, on the lower lake, cut back and gone with property lines. We can't zone outside the radius. At some point in time, when we touch 50,000, then our zoning can go countywide. But right now, if we want to chop something out of the zoning radius and not exercise our jurisdiction over it, we can't. We're exempting it out.
Bonham's a unique situation. It's a different municipality set up, so a little bit of different, you know, if you own the land's a little different if you don't own the land. It really just comes down to putting the regulation in place to make sure that either our municipality has the say-so or the county has the say-so. It doesn't matter who it is, as long as we're on the same page in terms of what we want it to look like in the future is what's happening here. But I know that community is something to point out, and I know Di is working on that.
My goal in all of this is just to try and make things clearer to the public.
Right.
So if there are any issues of anything overlapping that is not clear, that it can be brought forward and I could take it to the zoning board and the commissioner's court and get it changed.
Okay. I see a light tan color for area municipalities, but I don't see that color on the map. It's a long.
Let me have a quick look.
What's that?
I know, it's hard to
I
see up there.
actually have sent something to Biz, who does the interactive mapping, and asked them to make some changes, but it's not been updated on the interactive map yet.
Okay.
I think because of all the changes that are happening with CAD, it's normally been done by now, but it hasn't, and things have kind of gone back. If I have made some changes up there at the top of a proposal of adding some things that are different.
Okay.
And this was like a proposal to make some changes, but I just threw in the commercial right there because that's all I had time for. But definitely would like to clean the maps up and show what is Bonham jurisdiction or Dodge
Other
City
cities.
or wherever it might be, so that it's a lot clearer to people.
Good question. Any other questions? All right, well, I will open it up to the committee. We have a motion. It sounds like the next steps here is to talk with the Bois Lake Zoning Commission, get them up to speed, make sure we're all on the same page. And then from there, schedule a public meeting, before, and send out the notices. Di and I can work on those to make sure the language is accurate, so the landowners understand, what they're getting into, that they're not impacted unless they choose to be impacted, is really the key message here for landowners. So, if anybody on the committee wants to make a motion, we're open to do so, or we can table it until next month.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to make the motion, because then we can send out the notifications and get people involved. And it's gonna take a while for it to go through anyway.
It will.
It's gotta go to several committees, so I would make a motion to, we'll go ahead with it.
Mr. Carl, and a second from Mills. All right, well, all in favor? All right. We approved to move forward on agenda item 4, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the future land use map for Bodark Lake. We'll be looping in the Bodark Lake Zoning Commission with next steps. Di will be working on our notices to the public, as well as the public meeting for next steps on this. It will be a little bit of a process, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to this committee. Di is available sometimes. I know busy, don't want to blow her up, but if you have any questions on it, just feel free to reach out and we will continue to answer those questions for everybody. All right, this is a part of the same conversation. This is that same transportation map, just to reiterate why we're looking at US 82 first. It is your primary right-of-way. This was a thoroughfare done by Freese and Nichols. It was paid for. They are expensive, as the county knows at this point. It's been an ongoing discussion. So this was paid for us about 10 years ago, whenever they did the shoreline management plans. This gives you a good idea of why we're focusing on 82, and in the future, we will have a conversation about the FM 897 bridge, just to get everybody up to speed. All right, next up, we are moving on to agenda item number 5. This is discussion only, no action items today. Just want to get everybody a visual of, a side-by-side of Lake Ralph Hall versus Bodark Lake. We're having the same type of conversations, so want to give you a mirrored look of what the future land use map today looks like for Lake Ralph Hall. Now, I will explain that the shoreline management plan for Lake Ralph Hall is not finalized today. So, in theory, this is considered a draft. It is up to the county when it comes to zoning.
That's not a draft.
This is the county's. This is not a draft. This is the finalized future land use map of Lake Ralph Hall. So, apologies. This is our map. We control zoning around these lakes within the 5,000-foot buffer. It is up to the municipalities to work with the county in those overlap areas of the ETJ, but at the end of the day, the goal is to have some form of zoning in place so that we can control the neighbors that are moving in, more or less. Big call outs here. You got the main primary roadway, which is your Highway 34 bridge that goes all the way down into Greenville and all the way up through Honey Grove, and connects to that area as well. So that is the primary roadway. You saw that there was actually, looked like 4, it kind of loops around the lake for Bodark Lake. So not as many primary roadways for this lake. It's half the size, so keep that in mind as well. The secondary roadways are gonna be these yellow arteries around the lake as well. There's a better graphic on the next page, but for future land use, I wanted to give you an idea. What you can see on this compared to Bodark Lake, there is a lot of large lot residential, which is your 1-acre lots. The orange, which are secluded closer to the shoreline, are half-an-acre lots, so more high density around the shoreline. But all you can see is a handful of commercial properties. If this will be nice, let's see if it'll let me point to it. No. So you got this right here is a node that they have highlighted for general commercial 1-acre minimum lots. This is at the intersection of FM 1550, where it goes down to FM 2990 on the north side of the lake. That is where it leads to one of the boat ramps. There's a second boat ramp just south of that. I think that's pretty comparable to 1396 on Bodark Lake. If you look at it, we got a north boat ramp and a south 1396 boat ramp. Very comparable in that sense for Lake Ralph Hall. You've got the north 2990 boat ramp and the south 2990 boat ramp. That 2990 roadway will be covered by water once the impoundment begins and the lake fills, just like the old 1396 was. So you can see the roadway leading up to it, there is no additional commercial leading up to the boat ramps. Typically, that's where you see most of the activity, so it's worth a conversation. You got potential public access areas, which are these crossed out areas here. So closer to the boat ramp, they already have it allocated. These are public access areas on the north and south side of FM 2990. And then you have your third, and I believe it's supposed to be their version of the 897 boat ramp, their busiest one, at the end of FM 1550. They already have a lot of lake commercial zoning already pre-classified for that area, so we've got a great head start around that particular property, but there's room for potential commercial along FM 1550. We've got our bridge area. There's only a couple pieces there around the future operations center and the north side leading to the boat ramp. And we are missing some zoning potentially around our two other boat ramps at this time. So just wanted to put this as a visual for everybody to get up to speed and mirror the conversation that we're having around Boat Ark Lake. I'll flip to their transportation or their thoroughfare plan map to give you a better visual of how they have these categorized. Ignore that, that's pop up. It's been giving me fits lately. But as I said, these are considered minor roads. That's due to traffic volume. We don't expect there to be a high volume of traffic in these areas, but historically what we know is that these will probably be the busiest areas of this lake because that's where the public access and recreation are gonna be. So there could be potential to upgrade or update to a minor artery, which would be on the Commissioner's Court to understand, for an 80-foot right-of-way for leading up to a lot of our public access. The biggest part of that conversation when it comes to expanding the roadways, planning for it in the future, is emergency services. How are we gonna get our fire trucks down to these properties at these peninsula points? We wanna make sure that if a marina is being built, if a boat ramp's being built, if there's businesses down here, how are we gonna protect the citizens of Fannin County through emergency services? So that is part of the planning with the thoroughfare plan, and just something to call out for specifically FM 2990. Any questions on our future land use or our thoroughfare plan map for Lake Ralph Hall? This is just an open discussion topic, no action items for this today.
I've got a general question.
Yes.
You've got, on both of these maps, you have the theoretical development, but when you get a actual subdivision come in and it's approved, and you've got that plan, which went through its own vetting process, are those recognized on the map as a plan development, or?
It depends what they're zoned as. So first of all, they would, if it was in a green area and they wanted a subdivision in there, first of all, they'll have to change the zoning to residential, and then they would have to do the subdivision. If they want to have any change in road frontage, then they would have to do a special exception also through the zoning board and Commissioner's Court. The county regulations state that every lot has to have 60-foot road frontage, but around the lake, the road frontage is generally larger. In the residential areas, it's normally at least 100-foot road frontage. In the agricultural areas, if they were doing 5-acre lot subdivision, each lot would have to have a 200-foot road frontage.
But from a use standpoint, if like some of these, the one that's no longer happening, I can't think of the name of it.
Bellevue.
It was more walkable, and I don't have any idea what that land use within that looks like. But didn't it have more mixed use in different areas?
Yes.
Commercial walkable from residential?
So part of Bellevue, we asked them to do it in phases, so they only did the change of zoning in phases, and it was done as a PD, planned development.
Right, okay.
Which, when they update the CAD map, it should show in purple, not red. So
Okay.
planned development should be in purple.
That's,
But it wasn't the whole peninsula. That's what they wanted to do eventually.
right.
But it was just going to be done in sections.
The
And-
plan development for a European-style walking village
Yes.
with masonry buildings.
But that's gonna pop up
But
in
that's,
other,
that
other
hasn't
developments.
happened. I think the time I run the plan development plans are still there and run with the property, so somebody else could come in and do that. So that's still out there, but doing a plan development is an exception to the rule, and so far I think we've only done one.
No, we've done 3.
We've done two. Okay.
Because the zoning board wanted one of the boat storage to be done as a planned
Okay,
development,
planned
and they
development,
actually asked for the dog training facility to be done as a planned development. But generally, a planned development is really only supposed to be used for a mixture of residential and commercial.
Right.
You're gonna get, there's gonna be a lot of that.
Good question. Any other questions or feedback on the alcohol future land use map? Just wanted to get this in front of everybody, get familiar with it. There's a lot of data out there that we've had for a long time that's resurfacing, so just want to get everybody up to speed on what all we have available to us.
It looks like the city of Ladonia would be sitting in a good spot.
The city of Ladonia is sitting in a very good spot, as you can see.
So what, do we have any representatives from Ladonia? Do we know what they're planning?
Well, in terms of what happens in their city limits,
Well, that's
I
right
don't,
there.
yeah, I don't have any particular knowledge of any in the city limits. I'll mention on the next subject of,
I guess that's my
some of the
question. You
planning.
say city limits, but
Mhm.
are they annexing?
They're
Is there
considering
plans?
annexing.
Consider.
Yeah, it
I don't-
depends on the landowners, I believe, have to allow for annexation to happen for them to get onto those city services, but Ladonia is open to, especially, I believe, on the south side of 2990 is their next target zone for annexing into the city of Ladonia.
As far as I know, nothing has been annexed so far.
So everybody's aware of it. The city of Ladonia has been in partnership with Lake Ralph Hall since the beginning to put this lake in, and they've worked very closely together. And they are doing things with, they're talking about providing water and sewage to the area, and Lake Ralph Hall is very supportive of that. When I say they're close, they're the ones who started the whole concept of the lake, working with Congressman Ralph Hall a bunch of years ago. I think their mayor's name is on the dam, and Ralph Hall's name is on the lake. But the city of council, I think Mr. Janway and some of the other people, Mr. Patterson, make appearances to talk with the city and the Chamber of Commerce. So they are closer to the Lake Ralph Hall folks than the county is.
Got it.
Thank you, Judge.
So they may know things that the county doesn't know.
And that's why we're having these meetings, so everybody's up to speed on city, county, water districts, whatever's happening, everybody needs to be on the same page. There's no back end closed deals happening. This is what's on paper, this is what it is today. So, just wanna make that known, for our
And I
Ladonia folks.
invited the city council, I went to the last city meeting, went up there and told them we were having this,
Yes.
but none of them made it.
That's okay. I know we've got some conflicts always with our meeting time, so they were invited. I'll continue to invite everybody to be included, and eventually, you know, Mr. Doug Janeway is open to helping us out on the Upper Trinity side of the house for questions moving forward, so he's willing to be a participating member for this committee to lean on as well. So we appreciate the partnership. Any other questions or comments related to this? All right, well, I'll open it up. This is discussion only, new economic development topics in the county lake regions. Anybody on the committee have anything they want to discuss before I talk about a few random housekeeping things? All right, well, we'll get started then. Try to keep it brief. It's just kind of a snapshot. We go to a bunch of meetings as our team throughout the county every single month. We're going to the water district meetings. Virtually, we're in commissioner's court. We're at the MUD meetings. We're at chamber meetings. We're constantly following things that are happening related to lake economic development. So big things of the last month to call out is the ranch at Bodark. There was a final plat approved for this community. This is located on County Road 2935 and County Road 2905, so just on the I guess it's considered the east side, but it's like the south side of US 82. You're headed down 2900. It spits out on the other side of the highway. That property is there. It is I don't have the total acreage. I want to say it was closer to 200 acres, but there's a total of 19 lots in this community that range anywhere from 11 to 12 acres in tract size. But just to call out that this final plat was approved by Commissioners Court on the 31st of March. So they are moving forward with their plans, and this is just another small community that's got the larger lot sizes that are appealing to, a different demographic, that's more in our ag zoning classification. So it stays a little bit bigger, but still getting that lake lifestyle happening. Also want to call out Cypress Point, the Public Improvement District. One of our members here, he isn't here tonight, but Dan Cooper is a part of that. They recently had their PID and agreement approved. I believe they are working on that currently for the agreement portion with Di over here.
The PID petition was approved,
Yes.
and the district was mapped out,
Yes.
but it's not fully approved yet.
Correct, Di's language. So, still working through the process, but main word is they are moving forward with next steps, continuing down the process to establish that true PID, which would be the first to exist on Bodark Lake. So, lots happening in that area. Also wanted to call out County Road 2900. We were at the Bodark Mud meeting. That upgrade to that water line was approved, and the bid was awarded at this time. So that line is going to be upgrading from a 4-inch to an 8-inch line. They're going to break ground sometime this summer. They're working through, contract negotiations, and estimated timeline is by end of year for that project to be complete. This is going to help out the current residents that live on 2900, as well as the 265 home sites that appeared down on the west side of the lake. So we want to make sure they all have water supply, and this is what's going to make it happen. So great progress on that front. And last, in light of water, the Fannin County Water Supply Agency had a meeting. They're working through a grant process right now to obtain funding for infrastructure expansion. We do have a memorandum of understanding with North Texas and Fannin County. There is plans for us to receive water from Bodark Lake in the future. It requires upgraded infrastructure, which requires money. So the county is working on finding the different avenues to get the money in place so we can begin the upgrades for our infrastructure. So they're working hard to get some grants so we can begin that process.
I think that's an agency, as opposed to the county. There is a separation there, and the agency is a representative of various entities. The county is associated with it, but it is not unlike this commission, it is separate and apart from the county, and they're the group that's out trying to get grants.
Thank you, Judge.
So, and
Yes.
I might add that MOU's been in place since about 05, I think. And, the water that we're talking about is potable water from the Leonard treatment plant. And we have that MOU so we can use as much water as we need. The grant we're looking for so we can start buying water from them. It'll be 4 to 5 years before that's possible, because North Texas has to get phase 2 in place. So what that means is phase 1 is already producing potable water. It's going to McKinney, and because it has to have maintenance every few months, it would be interrupted water if we start buying it from them right now. When they get phase 2, they just switch over to phase 2 and it's uninterrupted. But it'll probably take us that long to get things in place like water storage, a pump station, and all of that. And that's why we're going out for the grant. And by the way, I'm the president of Fannin County Water Supply Agency. And if any of y'all like to come to my meeting, it's Thursday week. It's the fourth Thursday at 4 o'clock at the
Darrell Hall.
Ag building, Darrell
Yeah.
Hall, Ag building.
Off of 78.
Yes, in Bonham.
Good meeting to stay in tune with. We plan now so that we can have it in the future, so when our water constraints happen, we're prepared for it, is the main message of our water supply agency. So happy to have them working for the betterment of Fannin County. All right, next up, pivoting from Bodark Lake to Lake Ralph Hall, just a couple updates on random things happening in terms of lake development. So big update in the last month, I would say really it's been closer to 2 months. I could have mentioned it at the last meeting, but I didn't have all my notes with me. Ladonia Fossil Park is now open. They've reopened a new location. They had moved it from their prior location. It is now open to the public. That QR code, if you want to scan it, will take you to the Upper Trinity Lake Ralph Hall landing page where they talk about the fossil park with a lot of cool pictures. Recommend you go check it out. It's a fun recreational attraction for the area. Lots of cool stuff. Next up, we got breaking ground on our public boat ramps around Lake Ralph Hall. So construction has began. The boat ramps are being excavated, as you can see from this picture here. I want to call out this intersection. We are on the south side of Lake Ralph Hall, closest to Ladonia in this picture in my aerial shot. So this is County Road 3395 heading this direction, and then your FM 2990 that is going across the lake that will eventually be covered similar to the old 1396 on Bodark Lake. So eventually that will be underwater, but you can see a lot of the excavation work of this future boat ramp. Up a little further where you can see a lot of the equipment is going to be the entry to that boat ramp area. So it's just a little bit further past that cul-de-sac there at the end of the road. So just want to show some updates there. And keeping in mind the intersection, here was a look at a meeting that happened. It was a special meeting in Ladonia, I want to say a couple weeks ago at this point, very recent, where Upper Trinity invited the mayor of Ladonia to call a special meeting to get input from the public on what they would like to see at the future boat ramp at the south side of FM 2990. This was a concept that Upper Trinity has created. What was on this concept? So here's our intersection right here in the middle of the screen, where you see from that picture and all the excavation work they were doing. They have a dock and kayak launch noted here, an open area, a community area space. We've got several parking spots with the entry. We've got the boat ramp, boat docks in the mix, and they opened it up to see what the people of Ladonia wanted to see there. They talked about a playground. They talked about a dog park. We heard fish cleaning stations. I recommended a floating boat dock because we know what happened at the north side of Bodark Lake. We want to make sure that we have access as long as possible throughout the year due to fluctuations in water. So lots of great recommendations came out of the meeting. Whether or not they're implemented is completely up to Upper Trinity's disclosure, but it was progress and promising that they were willing to have the conversation and take the input from the public. So just wanted to show this map. It's a cool visual of what it's going to look like in just about a year or so. It is moving along. They are still on track to my knowledge. I think they're about a couple weeks behind on impounding the dam at Lake Ralph Hall, but they are within the 45 to 60 day mark. And as you know, it rains here in Fannin County when it's time to rain. So as soon as that dam is closed, it's going to start filling up. And it's up to Mother Nature on when that lake is going to be completely full. It took Bodark Lake roughly 12 to 13 months to fill from bottom to top before it opened to the public. This is about half the size. It's got a little bit of a smaller watershed to take into account, but I would expect it's going to open relatively quickly within the next 1 to 2 years. So wanted to call that out. All right, here's a sneak peek. I pulled this out of Upper Trinity's nice newsletters that they put out to the public. This is a look at the future operations center. This is going to be just south of the Highway 34 bridge, I believe on the west side of the bridge there, just very similar in comparison to where the North Texas operation is on Bodark Lake. So that main bridge, they are stuck there on the southwest side of the lake. They are going to begin breaking ground this summer on that project and should be completing it by Q2, Q3 of 2027. So that will be available to the public. All right, here's just an aerial image just to give you a visual, but this is Highway 34, Commissioner's Court, I believe on the 31st, just voted to change the naming of this bridge to the Pete Patterson Memorial Bridge. So in due time, I don't know where it goes from there, if our judge or commissioner.
It's going to TxDOT, and if they take our recommendation, the name will be changed. As everybody understands who Mr. Patterson was, he was state representative in the area, and he was involved in getting the lake and the fossil park done and a lot of things. He had a lot of major accomplishments. He died here in Honey Grove in 2017. But he was a major player in the area and had a lot to do with getting the development going over in the Ortona area.
Perfect. Well, that's next step. So Commissioners Court has approved the new name. Next step is going to TxDOT, and it's up to their disclosure if they accept it, but you will know first if it does get changed, and signage will follow.
There'll be a sign up if we get it changed.
Yes. All right, that is all I had for our open-ended discussion item. So I will open it up to the group for our next agenda item. This is discussion, possible action to set the next regular Fannin County Lake Economic Development Committee meeting for May 12th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. at Bodar Hall. It's at 365 5th Street, Honey Grove, Texas, 75446. You're sitting here right now. It is the second Tuesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. Keep it the same time. We'll just be at this Bodar Hall building next month if the committee is on board with that, or if we have any other recommendations on when and where we want to meet.
I'll make a motion to set the next meeting for May the 12th at Bodar Hall.
We have a motion from Di. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Tom. All right, and how do we all vote? And we have approved. The next meeting will be here at Bodar Hall on May 12th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. Before we adjourn, I'll just call out there is an optional tour today of Bodar Hall thanks to our committee member, Jeff. He is available and open to taking the public, giving a brief tour of Bodar Hall, learn about one of the new businesses here in downtown Honey Grove. It's an awesome business. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, and hope you get to stay around to learn some more about it. Other than that, we will move on to our last action item is to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Di. Do we have a second? Second by Tom. We have adjourned. It is 6:49 p.m. on April 14th. Thank you, everybody.